Quick programming note, my voice is actually a lot worse than yesterday. It's a little bit better than it was last night. As you can tell, I do the squeaky prepubescent thing. So I apologize for that. I'm going to try to be as clear as I can. I'm probably a little bit self-conscious about it. So if you if I giggle a little bit or something, it's because I'm laughing at how ridiculous I probably look and sound right now. But first of all, thank you so much for joining me on this, what was going to be episode 4, but I've decided to put as episode 3 based upon some early comments and just the general vibe that I'm getting from the people and making the comments on the YouTube channel. I've decided to push this forward because I need you to understand what this actually is so that you can get the most out of it. So many people are coming. I don't know so many people, but I think there's a misconception that this series is going to be a step-by-step path from whatever the idea is to your ultimate destination. And for many reasons that I'm going to go into next week, this cannot be that. This format does not lend itself to that. I could do that, but if I do that, it's going to be the least effective way to get you there, for reasons that I'm actually going to talk about tomorrow. Yes, what was going to be today's episode that I've decided to push to tomorrow. Today, instead, what I want to talk about is why producers don't teach. I'm going to turn this into a daily prompt for you at the end, but it's really important for you to understand, because that's the reason I'm taking this format for this daily prompt project. Now, I've seen a couple of there's only been a couple of comments so far. We haven't had that many views so far, but there's only been a couple of comments so far that are sort of negative about what we're putting out here. One of which I just read, which was that episode 1 and episode 2 seem to be very similar. So it's like we're stuck in neutral. And then another one being that I talk too much. Fair enough. Both of those, I absolutely respect your opinions about that. And I certainly fully appreciate that. Here's the thing that you have to understand. There's a reason film producers don't teach screenwriting. Despite the fact that understanding what a producer needs in a project is probably the missing ingredient from 99% of projects. And that's what I've been trying to teach, and that's what this show is about teaching you that kind of stuff. You need to understand the producer's perspective simply because a screenplay is not an end unto itself. We don't go to Amazon.com and say, hey, what's the latest unproduced screenplay? I want to have a look at something. They don't exist. There's no market for it. Why is there no market for it? Because a screenplay is not an end product. A screenplay is a means to an end. It's the document that we're going to create the film from, right? So ultimately, in order to create something that we can create a film from, you have to understand what creating the film from it means and how to incorporate all that stuff into your creative process. If you haven't incorporated all that stuff into it, a producer may go, hey, I like this idea, I like the story, I like some of these scenes, I can't use this. Because we need to completely redevelop it, which may be fine for the people who've got tons of money, who the big studios can throw money at your project and pay other people to redevelop your project. But the vast majority of independent producers don't have money to do that because we don't necessarily know that we're going to get where we need to go. So why don't producers teach then? I know there are a couple people out there who've interviewed producers and then teach what they've learned, but those are teachers. I know that there are teachers out there who teach screenwriting. I know there's the vast majority of what is taught by writers or teachers, and it makes sense. When I decided to go down this road and build my system, I very deliberately saying, I'm going to put my career on hold to do this. I didn't think it would take as long as it has, but I knew that I couldn't do both at the same time. So the simple reason that producers don't teach is because they don't have time to teach. A producer that's a big job. That's a very complex job. You're always on the phone. You're always looking for new projects. You're always interacting with lots of people. You don't have time to go into the nuances of storytelling and screenwriting and creativity and story building and how to take a weak script and turn it into a solid script. It's a different set of skills. These are a person who has mastered the art of producing is not necessarily the same person who's mastered the art of teaching. So we should understand that teaching and producing are two different things. Now, I have put my career on hold to teach, but it's time to get back to producing. Now, if I'm actually going to present the stuff that I've learned along the way and teach what I can teach, I have to be very deliberate with my time. I have to carve out a small little window in which to focus my energies on the teaching stuff so that I still have time to do the producing stuff, to do the story development stuff with the people in the writer's room, to try to build the projects so that we can go out and market and sell them and all that stuff, to go shoot things, blah, 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 right? So the reason I've chosen this format for this show where I talk, and yes, those of you who think I talk too much, right, I do. Those of you who think this is a little scattered and not quite as focused as it should or could be, I can take 1 or 2 minutes and say the succinct thing and then save us all some time. Yes, you're absolutely right. And my hope is that at some point there will be enough interest in all this that I'll be able to get a team of people who can help me do that, and we can make more succinct projects, more succinct episodes along the way. Right now, it's me trying to carve out a little bit of time. So each episode, I've kind of allocated about an hour for it. So I'm going to do this in the one hit, one take, right? I'm not going to refine. I'm not going to polish. I can't sit there and spend half a day figuring out how to nail down what the lesson of the day is, because this isn't about a lesson. Yes, I'm going to teach you stuff. Yes, I'm going to convey lots of information to you, but this is not about lesson. If you want lessons, do the system. At the end of the day, that's what it is. I'll make another video that sort of goes into that a little bit more clearly. But at the end of the day, this is about a prompt. If you don't want to join me in my system, that's totally fine, but I'm assuming you don't want to do that because you already have your own way of doing it. And if you have your own way of doing it, do that, but you just have to take action each day. And if I can give you a little bit of idea or insight or inspiration that prompts your daily action, then it's the best of both worlds. If I can expand what you're already working on with my perspective, that producer's perspective, that perspective of the person that reverse engineered the process for the past 20 years, if I can give you that each day and inspire you to actually take action and follow through, because producers are desperate for material. If I can do that, then this becomes a success. Does that make sense? Now, ultimately, I don't know if you've watched the How to Watch This series, possibly not, but for those who haven't, this show is going to look like this. Me talking to you like this for between 10 and 20 minutes, maybe more some days if I get on a rant or something. It's going to look like this for I don't know how long. If there's somebody out there who's who's a videographer who wants to film this stuff each day and turn it into stuff each day, we don't have the funds to pay to do that at this point. So it has to be this. Okay, that's what this is about so far. So if you understand ultimately why producers don't teach, then you will hopefully understand why this show is presented the way that it is. So if you understand that, you will be able to extract more value from every episode. Because I promise you, I'm not just going to blabber on about nothing. I'm going to convey to you some very hard-won ideas, and we're going to turn that into a prompt at the end of the episode. So that at the end of every episode, you're going to have something you can focus on to take action that day. That is what this is about. There is value here if you understand the context and you understand why it's so important. It is essential to understand the producer's perspective. It is essential for every screenwriter to know why the vast majority of projects are not viable. It's going to take me some time to convey that stuff to you guys. So hopefully this episode helps you understand some of that and helps you understand what that means. So let's personalize it for you and figure out how to turn it into a daily prompt for you. The daily prompt for you ultimately boils down to time management. It boils down to, let's think about this. If you actually want to get where you're trying to go, if this has been a dream for you for a long time, it may be very uncomfortable taking that dream and starting to make it real. Because all of a sudden you have to actually act on it. What if you fail? What if it's no good? What if you find out you don't have any talent or aptitude for any of this stuff? All of that is BS, guys. All of that means nothing. It's not true. It's not real. There's no such thing as a bad screenwriter. There is an early draft screenwriter. There's someone who's developing their skill. All you have to do is continue to develop your skill and you will get better. Don't put the early draft out into the world. That's all there is to it. You have to put in the time to do that. So, guess what? None of us has time. Nobody. There is no time to be an aspiring screenwriter because you always have something more important to do. I got sick. It's more important for me to rest. I have to look after my kid. I have to help my partner with the things that she needs to do. I need to try to build the film studio. I need to try to develop projects with other writers so that we can actually make something this year. There are so many things that are vying for my time. There are so many things that are vying for your time as well. If you actually want to move forward on this goal, if you actually want to make this real, you have to carve time out for yourself. You have to figure out your strategy, just as I have figured out a strategy to try to put these ideas out there, to try to encourage more and more and more, hopefully, writers to actually follow through with this stuff so that we can actually build the independent film studio. This is part of my time management strategy. What is your time management strategy for your situation? Now, can you carve out 10 minutes each day? Do you think you should carve out more, an hour or 2 hours each day? If you do, what are you going to fill those hours with? What's your strategy? And what happens when something comes up and you can't do any work today? When something comes up and you can't do any work today, it's a day that you're further away from that goal. Don't let a day go by. Don't let a day pass without taking action. So today's daily prompt is pretty simple as well. It's figure out your time management. Figure out how you're going to carve out time every single day to do this. Hopefully you'll include this in your time management strategy, because I promise you we got lots more to come. But whatever you do, you have to make sure that you can take some action moving forward. I do believe that this is part of it. I do believe that filling your mind with the ideas that I'm sharing with you is an important part of the strategy. But ultimately, moving forward on your actual story and your project is important too, which is why we're going to get into that stuff in the episodes ahead. But that's the daily prompt for today. Hopefully it makes sense. And guys, if you have any questions about anything that I talk about here, I'm going to start in upcoming episodes addressing questions specifically. So if you have a question about character, story structure, whatever, anything, your inability to open doors in the industry, I will give you advice and suggestions and strategies and tools and all sorts of stuff to get you where you're trying to go. My time management is doing it within this format. Hopefully it works for you. If it doesn't, totally understand. But I do believe that there's value here you're not going to find anywhere else, just because my unique perspective on this is what I'm trying to share with you. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. That is today's daily prompt. Please remember to take action with it. Like this, subscribe to this channel, comment, question, share if you can. We don't have any budget to spread this around to the rest of the world. So please tell other people if you're enjoying this. And we will see you tomorrow.